Hi, welcome to LI802's module on nesting Boolean operators. Nesting is used to preserve the logic of a search statement by grouping and specifying the order of operations. Terms within the parentheses are resolved first. While a lot of times you can get away with just one Boolean operator, often you're going to need multiple Boolean operators in order to control for particularly difficult precision and recall problems. The use of nesting of Boolean operators will give you a little bit more finesse. The nesting of Boolean operators is sometimes a source of problem for students. So try to practice with these a bit, and I think once you sort of get the hang of it, it'll come naturally. To demonstrate how nested Boolean operators work, we're going to start with a very simple information domain. And in this domain are various menu items with treats or combination of treats within it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a search string and we're going to work our way through it like a computer would work through it. If you understand how the computer is resolving this search string, it should help you in creating such a search string. So in our first one, we'll start with the parentheses first. And the parentheses, the first one is cookies, so we pull everything out of our information domain, which has cookies in it. And our second term is milk, so we pull everything out of the information domain, which contains milk. We combine these together by saying we want only items which has cookies and milk. Both cookies and milk on the menu item. So what we end up with is cookies, cakes, and cookies and milk. We then go to solve our second part of the problem, cake. So we pull all the items with cake from our information domain, and this forms our second set of terms. If we move down to the second level of this little grid, what we do is we're going to combine these with the Boolean operator OR. So we want any menu items that contain both cookies and milk or contain cake. We end up with 4 items: cake, cake and milk, cookies and milk, cookies, cake, and milk. Okay, let's take a look and see how the placement of the parentheses will affect the return of the search string. So we're going to use the same search string, same information domain of treats on menu items. And what we're going to do, instead of placing the parentheses around cookies and milk, as we did in the previous slide, this time we're going to place it around milk or cake. So resolving the parentheses first, we end up with a set for milk, and we end up with a set of all menu items which contain cake. We combine these together such that we have a set which has either milk or cake in it. We then take a look at the, then pull back all the items which contain cookies. Okay, so we have 2 sets. We combine them with the Boolean operator and what we end up with is cookies, menu items which have either cookies and milk in it or cookies and cake in it. The resulting set is cookies and milk, cookies, cakes, and milk. Notice how this differs from this results from the previous slide where we ended up with 4 treat items. Go back, take a look at the previous slide and then compare it to this slide and go back and forth. You think you're pretty confident on why these are returning different sets. Turning to how we nest the not operator, we're going to use the search string cookies or milk in parentheses, then not cake. And as you can see, we will first create, as previously, a set with cookies and a set with milk, and we combine them with the Boolean operator OR. So anything which has either cookies or milk on it is returned. We then go to our second part of our statement, which is cake. So we pull back all the menu items which have cake. Okay, so then we combine our first set, cookies or milk, with using the Boolean operator not cake. So any items which have cookies or milk but must not have cake. This then returns 3 items: cookies and milk, milk, and cookies. Turning to our last nested Boolean operator, we're going to look at the search string milk not cake in parentheses or cookies. So starting with the parentheses, we create a set of all the menu items which have milk, and we can create a set which has all the menu items which has cake in it. We combine these together using the not Boolean operator, so milk but not cake, and we end up with a set with cookies and milk. We then create a set which has all cookies in it, and we combine these two together, cookies and milk not cake, using the Boolean operator OR. When we do this, we end up with cookies or milk not cake, and we end up with cake and milk, milk, cookies, cookies, cake, and milk. Note how in the previous slide where we used the parentheses around cookies or milk, we didn't end up with anything with cake in it. So how these parentheses resolve themselves really does have an effect on what your returns are going to be. So be very, say, explicit in how you're going to use these parentheses. Now, as just a little bit of a puzzle, we could also use, instead of cookies or milk not cake, we could use a Boolean operator, cookies and milk not cake. What you can do, the interesting thing about this search string, cookies and open parentheses, milk not cake, end parentheses, is that it returns exactly the same results as open parentheses, cookies and milk, end parentheses, not cake. So, I know I've said that quickly, but if you write it down, see why this is so. Work it out, and it should come out to be identical. Mathematically, can you see why this would be? Key points for nested Boolean operators. One is the use of parentheses will allow you greater control over problems or issues tied to precision and recall. As such, you should have reasonably good familiarity on how to nest Boolean operators. Keep in mind that the terms inside the parentheses resolve first, and how you place those parentheses will, in almost all situations, affect your search results.